December the 3rd, 1872. A lecture room in London, packed with Victorian gentlemen, the Prime Minister among them.
At the front stands George Smith,
a self-taught engraver's apprentice who talked his way into the British Museum's tablet room.
He holds up a broken piece of clay from the ruins of Nineveh, and he reads them a story.
A man is warned by a god to build a great boat.
He loads it with his family, his craftsmen, and the seed of living creatures. The storm comes.
The boat grounds on a mountain. He releases a dove, then a swallow, then a raven, and the raven does not return. Then he offers sacrifice.
Every person in that room knew the story. They'd known it since Sunday school.
Except this copy was pressed into clay in the 7th century before Christ, copied from something older still.
The later legend says that when Smith first deciphered it, he jumped up and started tearing off his clothes.
That part's anecdote, not archive. But the tablet is real, it's cataloged, and you can stand in front of it today.
So here's the file we're opening.
Not gotcha. The Bible is old news. That's the cheap version, and we won't be doing the cheap version.
The real question is stranger and better. The first gods humanity ever wrote down. Who were they?
What did it mean to live under them? And why do their fingerprints keep turning up?
In calendars. In courtrooms. Maybe in your horoscope this morning. I'm Tenzin.
I'm Dr. Amara.
Rhea, this is the God Files. File 1, Sumer.
Let's lay the spine of the file on the table, because everything hangs on it. Smith's tablet, Museum number K.3375, is a late copy, made for King Ashurbanipal's library. But the tradition behind it is far older. In Philadelphia, the Penn Museum holds a Sumerian tablet, 17th century BCE by its script, and a Kumpaniksha,
Telling the flood of Ziusudra, a 7-day storm, a surviving hero, a sacrifice.
And the Babylonian epic of Atrahasis is Old Babylonian too. In that one,
The god Enki warns his human through a reed wall. And the flood is the finale of a whole saga about why humans were created and why the gods regretted the noise we make.
So the flood wasn't a story. It was a franchise.
Ziusudra, Atrahasis, Utnapishtim, 3 names, 1 boat.
1,000 years of rewrites before that London lecture room ever heard of it.
And right here is where I want us careful.
Because this is where shows like ours usually cheat.
Yes. The Mesopotamian flood texts are older in surviving manuscripts.
And yes, critical scholars generally place the composition and editing of Genesis within
The first millennium BCE.
With the exact dates genuinely fought over.
But here both halves. A manuscript's date is not the age of a tradition.
And neither one is a verdict on revelation.
Older clay doesn't mean truer. And it doesn't make anyone's scripture false.
What it proves is one word: related.
How they're related, that's this episode.
the chip on that card says dabated, and it stays on screen as long as the card does.
Before we meet the gods, the receipts. Because this is the thing that rearranged my head preparing this file.
Some of the earliest surviving writing, the earliest cuneiform tablets from Uruk around 3200 BCE, is not myth.
It's accounting. Grain, sheep, beer rations, workers, temple deliveries.
Humanity's first written words are overwhelmingly warehouse paperwork.
Which flips the romance in the best way. Writing doesn't begin as scripture and decay into bureaucracy.
It begins as bureaucracy, and the gods are already inside the ledgers.
By the time anyone presses a myth into clay,
The gods have been on the books for centuries.
Writing enters history already surrounded by divine households.
Put people in the city, Amara. I want listeners standing in it.
Stand in Uruk, then. Or Eridu, or The thing that owns the skyline is not a palace. It's the god's house. A raised mud brick platform. And in later centuries, the great ziggurats,
Visible across the flat river, plain the way a cathedral owns a medieval town.
And the temple is not a prayer room. It is a household. Fields, herds, workshops, storehouses, archives, staff.
So follow the money. In record after record, the god is functionally the owner.
The land is the god's estate. The temple is the household, and the humans are staff. Priests, brewers, weavers, herders, managers.
Before religion was a private belief you carried in your chest, the god could be your landlord.
With a historian's asterisk on the card, the old textbook claimed that temples owned everything in Sumer is contested. Say it as major divine households inside a mixed economy, varying city by city and century by century. Chipreeds debated.
But even with the asterisk, feel it from inside for a second.
Your bread ration, your work rota, your festival calendar, your city's very name, braided into a being whose house stood above your street.
Belief wasn't an opinion you held. It was your address.
Now the gods. The godless run to hundreds of names, and we are not going to dump 300 deities on you.
3 will do, because 3 map the cosmos. Sky, water, desire.
Give us the sky first.
And An later Anu. His name is simply the Sumerian word for heaven.
In a poem called Enki and the World Order, the god Enki boasts that he is the firstborn of An.
And that with an enthroned on his dais, justice flows down through the world.
That's the picture to hold. Anu is less a thunderbolt hero than the high throne itself.
The height that authority descends from.
Dustant. Legitimating. One of Mesopotamia's earliest written sky gods is more altitude than personality.
And then Enki, Ea in Akkadian, is my favorite in the whole file. God of the fresh water deep under the earth, of wisdom, craft, magic. In that same poem, he calls himself the understanding of the lands.
And in the flood traditions, when the divine council votes to wipe humanity out,
Enki is the one who can't go through with it.
he's sworn to secrecy, so he whispers the warning to a reed wall, knowing his human is listening on the other side.
A god who finds the loophole in his own committee.
One of the earliest written stories of a god preserving humanity through a warning.
And third, Inanna. Later, Ishtar.
Goddess of Uruk's great inner precinct, and of things we file separately. Sexual love and war and political power.
And the planet Venus. One body, all of it.
Her masterpiece poem opens with her setting her mind on the great below.
She abandons heaven and earth, gathers 7 divine powers to herself,
and walks down through the 7 gates of the underworld.
At each gate, something is stripped from her. Crown, jewels, robe, until she arrives naked and dies.
and returns by naming a substitute to take her place.
She is one of the earliest gods we can watch move through a full dramatic arc in written literature.
Not a soft fertility figure. Erotic, armed, ambitious, dangerous.
The temple singers wept for her, and armies marched under her star.
Because the internet will do this if we don't.
Her cult was real and it was staffed. Priests, lamentation singers, ritual performers,
Some of whom crossed gender categories in ways scholars still argue about.
And there was a royal ideology of sacred marriage, binding kings to the
goddess.
But the viral version, Sumer ran on temple sex workers.
That one's heavily debated, and some scholars call it mostly a modern myth.
Chip on screen. Debated. We deal in receipts, remember.
All right, the correlations file.
This is where I earn my chair, and where we're strictest with ourselves.
Correlation 1, the flood. The motif chain is not vague vibes. Divine warning.
A boat. The seed of living creatures. A sealed door. A mountain landing.
Birds sent out. Sacrifice after survival. That chain appears in Gilgamesh and in Genesis, and the Mesopotamian versions are older on clay. So, historian, did Genesis copy it?
Not the word I'll sign.
Here's what the scholarship actually supports. Genesis belongs to a documented ancient Near Eastern flood conversation.
Most scholars see it engaging Mesopotamian tradition. But whether the route runs through Gilgamesh, through Atrahasis, or through streams we've lost is debated.
And glow glacier and engages is the honest verb because Genesis doesn't transcribe.
It argues one God instead of a council, a moral reason instead of the God's complaint in Atrahasis that humans had grown.
Too many and too loud.
A covenant at the end.
Scholars who set the text side by side say, that's precisely how you see what.
Each text is doing.
Correlation 2, the goddess with the paper trail.
Sumerian Inanna is identified with Akkadian Ishtar.
Her profile. Love, war, the star of Venus.
Resonates west along trade routes with the related Astarte traditions of the Phoenician coast.
And on Cyprus, where Phoenician and Greek worlds overlap, the Greeks meet a goddess of love born from the sea, and her name is Aphrodite.
Scholars trace real influence along that route.
But hear the discipline. This is a trade route, not a conspiracy board. Aphrodite is not Ishtar in a toga. She becomes fully Greek in Greek hands. Influence, not identity. Chip. Debited.
And correlation 3 is the one that stunned me, because it isn't on a tablet at all.
It's in the Bible.
Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 14. The prophet is given a vision of the temple in Jerusalem, and at the north gate of the Lord's own house, he sees women sitting and weeping for Tammuz.
Tammuz is Dumuzi, Inanna's shepherd consort.
The Mesopotamian god mourned every summer when the green season dies. Mesopotamian mourning ritual at the gate of the Jerusalem temple.
Recorded by the prophet who condemns it. That's not a TikTok theory. It's in the text.
And notice what it actually proves. Not that one faith is fake,
but that these worlds shared doorways. Ezekiel's horror is itself the evidence. Real people in Jerusalem found meaning in that weeping.
And the prophet fought for their attention. 2 living devotions in one gateway.
And one caution from the scholars.
The grand theory that every later dying and rising god descends from Tammuz.
That's debated, and we're not claiming it.
And one correlation we're striking from the file ourselves.
So you can watch the method work.
Anu, Sky Father. Zeus, Sky Father. Same god diffusing west? No.
Zeus Dows Jupiter. Those names are genuine linguistic cousins.
One Indo-European family.
And is Sumerian for heaven itself, and new is the Akkadian form.
Neither belongs in that family tree.
The resemblance is a pattern in how humans imagine, not a family tree.
That's the standard, and it cuts both ways. Some patterns are inheritance.
Some are just the shape of the human mind.
Our job is telling you which chip is on which card.
Open a Bible. Ezekiel 8:14.
At the north gate of the Jerusalem temple, women are weeping for Tammuz.
A Mesopotamian god recorded in scripture itself.
Not a hoax, not a theory, a verse. The ancient world shared its doorways.
So, the part you came for. What if this is still in your life?
Start with the sky. If you know your zodiac sign,
You are using a system with a Babylonian paper trail. Mesopotamian scholars read the heavens for centuries as state intelligence.
Omens from the gods about king and country, not personality quizzes.
And around 500 BCE, Babylonian astronomers formalized the 12-sign zodiac.
There's a tablet in the British Museum listing the signs.
From there, it flowed into Greek astrology.
And eventually into the app on your phone.
The calendar's murkier, so we'll flag it honestly.
Mesopotamian calendars marked certain 7-numbered days and lunar turning.
Points.
And some scholars argue that stream-fed the development of the Sabbath,
while others reject a direct Babylonian origin outright.
So the safe sentence is, Mesopotamia is part of the story of why sevens matter.
Whether it's the origin of the Sabbath, Chip says, debated.
Then there's the stele in the Louvre.
Top of Hammurabi's law code, carved around 1750 BCE.
The king stands before Shamash, the sun god, patron of justice, receiving the insignia of authority.
Look at the picture, and you're looking at a template.
Law that descends from a god, justice underwritten by heaven. That visual grammar saturates the ancient Near East. Direct lines to biblical law get argued case by case.
It is one of the oldest surviving images of the idea that law carries a divine
signature.
And I'll add the institutional echo, with the softest chip we own.
So watch it land. Speculative.
Those temple households from Act 1, employer, landholder, archive,
ritual center, are among the earliest well-documented written archives of religion operating as
an institution with resources and payroll.
I am not saying your church, mosque, synagogue, or temple descends from Sumer.
I'm saying, when you see organized religion holding property and payroll,
Sumer is one of the oldest filing cabinets where we can watch that pattern in
writing.
And the tablets themselves are not done making history.
In 2021, the United States seized a Gilgamesh tablet, the Dream Tablet. Loaded from Iraq, sold through the antiquities market.
And returned it to the Iraqi people.
In 2025, Turkey reportedly returned 6 more.
Nimrud and the Mosul Museum were smashed by ISIS within our lifetime, and are
being pieced back together.
These gods are ancient. The custody battles are current.
And the people are current.
Modern Assyrians carry the name of that land through churches, languages,
and a diaspora that remembers.
The Mandaeans of Iraq and Iran carry their own living scriptures and rites.
Rooted in those same rivers.
Neither is a fossil of Sumerian religion, and we won't treat them as props. They are living communities with their own self-understanding.
Mesopotamia is not only museum glass. Living communities rooted in its lands and languages still pray.
In their own traditions.
So, closing arguments that aren't arguments.
Mine is the historian's.
The parallels in this file are not cheap shots at anyone's faith.
Comparison is how a text becomes legible.
You see what Genesis is saying when you can see the flood stories it grew up.
Beside, parallels are not a gotcha. They are the map of the conversation.
And mine is the seeker's. And I mean every word.
Serious theologians have read all of this evidence. The older tablets,
the shared motifs, and kept their faith intact.
Because context is not contradiction.
Knowing a story has older relatives doesn't tell you what God, revelation,
or covenant means to the people who live inside it now.
History can show relationship. It cannot do all of theology's work.
And mine, so you know exactly where the skeptic lands.
What I see in this file is humans doing the most human thing on record.
Writing gods down, arguing with the drafts, and rewriting them for 4,000 years. Flood by flood, goddess by goddess, gate by gate.
Whether anything divine sits behind the rewrites.
That question didn't come with a chip, and I won't fake one.
But the pattern is real, and the pattern is us. That I can source.
The file stays open.
Tell us in the comments which correlation you want pulled next.
Every card you saw tonight is on screen now, chip and all. Dated July 2026.
And we'll restamp them when the scholarship moves.
The first written gods asked to be remembered. 4,000 years later, here we are. Good night from the God Files.